Hey, so we welcome you to another episode of Learning Stories. On this show, we interview a diverse set of learners from the 21st century. Each guest profiled in this show has a unique story to share about how they acquired a set of skills and knowledge in a creative and innovative manner. And in the process, through interviewing our guests and understanding their story, we hope to uncover a new definition of learning as narrated, conceptualized, and imagined by our guest. Today's guest, Carissa D'Almeida, is actually a dear friend, another dear friend on this show. We went to school together in the Middle East. But Carissa, Carrie, I mean, we used to call her Carrie in school, but Carissa is a by training she's a lawyer, but by passion she's also a disc jockey. She grew
Yeah.
up in the Middle East and then studied law at university. She got a bachelor's of law degree at Christ University. She's been a lawyer at Accenture for 4 years now, but she's also a disc jockey, a full-time disc jockey, and she plays at live events um, around the country in India, primarily on the weekends. She produces music on an awesome podcast called Care Package that will all be in the show notes. And as a musician, as a disc jockey, she focuses on disco, house, and deep house music. So this was a little bio about you, Carrie. Carrie, thank you for giving me or giving us your time. Um,
Thank you so much for having me.
yeah,
It's so cool actually. Yeah. I love what you're doing.
I know, and I think this is actually going to be a very fun conversation because I know there are a lot of listeners that are going to be, listening to this show that are interested about how they can get started. You know, if they're interested in being a disc jockey themselves or interested in music in general, can they
Mhm.
use the internet to actually, build on those passions? So I feel like your story will really help them in that sense, but also how you're able to balance being a full-time lawyer and a DJ at the same time. That is really commendable, and that's something I'm curious about at a personal level too. So Carrie, just to get started, I'm sorry I went on talking, so this is the most talking I'm going to do in the most show throughout the show. But
Okay.
so Carrie, um, where were you born, and what was Carissa like as a child?
Okay, so I was born back in Bahrain in the Middle East. I am the youngest of three children, and my brothers are much older than me. So while growing up, I was like this shy, awkward kid. I didn't talk a lot. I the spoke what speak when you're only spoken to was like a very hard and fast rule in my house. So that was the deal. And I was very shy, but I mean, I feel like I was a little bit naughty at home. I tried to get away with a lot of things, like I think every other child did. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of exposure to music per se. I feel like my brothers did play a lot of pop and stuff, but it took its time to come into my life. I think, yeah.
And
Uh,
go
Sorry.
ahead. Sorry, go ahead,
No,
Carrie.
that's pretty much it.
And what were your parents doing at that point, Carrie? Were they just working in Bahrain as professionals?
Yeah, my parents are working in Bahrain, both full-time jobs, yeah. And just three of us running around the house.
That's nice. And was there any kind of music you listened to at that point of time? I mean, like what did
So,
you enjoy listening to then?
oh gosh, while growing up, I think this actually started at a very young age. My parents keep telling me that that I started dancing before I could walk. Apparently, like if I was when I was a baby, if you do a dance move next to me, I would just copy you and start doing the same thing. So while growing up, I remember a lot of my childhood being in my TV hall watching MTV and measuring the steps that were going on whatever was happening. I remember Malaika Arora's Chaya Chaya by heart even till now, like even till today. So that's I think where music started creeping in, and and there were a lot of influences because back in Bahrain, whenever we were in the car, we would listen to the radio, and that was my most favorite thing about like sitting in the car. Like even now, I just sit in the car and I put on the radio, and I can't. I have to sing along. I have to keep bopping. I have to keep dancing And while growing up, I thought that being an RJ was really cool. Like, remember back in Bahrain, we had Crazy Kevin, and he was such an enigma. He was like a personality. So, yeah, like I just thought it was like a really, really cool job. We just get to play good music for people on air, like all the time, and make them dance. And that was just great. So, I got a lot of exposure to music because of the radio and MTV. And then there were like, my brothers were also there, but they listened to a lot of pop. I think from what I remember now, it was a lot of 90s, 2000s pop that was like just mainstream back then, like Britney Spears, NSYNC, all the cool guys. Yeah, so that's where music started creeping in.
That's
And like my family is a little music oriented. Like when we go to church, we used to sing hymns, of course, and then at home, my second brother used to play the piano while we were growing up, and eventually I started learning the piano as well. I think it was when I was 9, and that's like official music entry into my life, because after that I devoted about like I think 6 years learning the piano after that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
that's really fascinating because if you, I mean, when you're learning the piano, you're thinking about more classical music, right? In terms of
Yes.
like, and then you spent about 6 years learning that. But apart
Mhm.
from that, what I was hearing was you were also taking in music from so many different mediums, whether it was,
Yeah.
through the radio, on your own, listening to playlists curated by your brother,
Yeah.
but then even your friends, right? They're probably sharing music with you in
Yeah.
school and
Yeah, we did. I learned a lot about rock and metal from a lot of my guy friends back in school. I had no idea of it otherwise. I would just listen to mainstream pop. So it was pretty cool because I got exposed to that kind of music. And yeah, it was a whole journey, I feel, because I never would have listened to it otherwise. But yeah.
that's that's really fascinating because I recently was thinking about what kind of music I like listening to,
Mhm.
and sometimes when you start speaking to friends, you realize that we all have different music choices, and often
Yeah.
they're influenced by the themes we are interested in, right? So if you think
Mhm.
about the bands that you most enjoy listening to, they sort of play music related to themes that you are probably interested in at a particular
Yeah,
point of time,
that's
right?
true.
but but what about, what was the role of school in terms of helping you? um I'm just curious about, what were the things you were interested in apart from music at school, in terms of just your
At,
side interests and passion, or even subjects that you liked at school? Was there anything
oh,
you
at school, I loved economics. I think that was because we had a really great teacher also, Rajesh sir. I still remember his name. Yeah, he was really good. And I loved economics because of it. But I didn't really have much varied interest except for music, because I feel I was a bit of a bookworm, I guess. I was very studious and just kept my nose in my books all the time. But I did write quite a bit back then. I did a little bit of drawing. I did a lot of dancing actually. Yeah, I was actually trained in Bharatanatyam and Bollywood for like about 6 to 8 years also, I think. So yeah, dancing was actually a very main uh, reason why I wanted to do music even now. So yeah, I think they're all just channeled in and made sense somehow.
That's so cool, Carrie. It's like you almost had another life before you became a lawyer and a disc
Yeah.
jockey, right? Because you actually did like a lot of training in the piano and then in dance as well. But
Yeah.
this is in addition to being a full-time student at school. So I think this whole idea of multitasking actually started from there, right? So you do something
Yeah.
full-time and then have like a big
Something
passion
on the
going on the
yeah.
side, right?
Like
So
I don't think I was able to sit in one place. I had to keep doing something, and I find that like even today I have to keep doing something. I have to keep being productive. So I think, yeah, the
I
side thing is a thing of the past.
yeah, and I don't know if it's like a millennial thing because all of us are like millennials. I feel like multitasking comes to us a lot more
Yeah,
easier than, and because I know a lot of friends that work and then they're watching like a show on the side and they're able to process.
guilty. I do that a lot.
So I can just imagine you, trying to like draft out a contract and then playing these really cool, deep house playlists on the side. So I feel like that's your, workspace vibe in a sense.
Yeah, that is actually. I think this happened in college because one of my friends keeps saying, "Oh, she has music playing. Don't disturb her. That means she's concentrating. Like, leave her alone."
Well, that's
Okay.
interesting. I mean, I suppose these are some of the little things we'll find out about Carissa in terms of what her friends think about her, right? So awesome. So I mean,
Uh,
it's good that we got like a little, I mean, a lot of your listeners would be, curious about Carissa beyond her being this really cool DJ, right? And you're also a lawyer, but also what you were like as as a student in school. But I know
mhm.
you decided to move to India after your high school in Bahrain, and
Yeah.
why India and why Bangalore or Bengaluru in particular for you?
So I think I decided I wanted to do law back in ninth grade. That's mainly because I asked my parents if I could become a dancer, and they said no because it's not a stable profession according to them. So I was like, okay, let's do law because this seems really cool. And I wanted to do law initially because I wanted to help people out. Like I wanted to fight cases for them and fight for their lives and such. So that's why I wanted to do law. So I figured that I would. I felt India, like being a lawyer in India, would be most not feasible at the time. I thought it made sense a lot because I felt like there were a lot of people back here who needed help, people who wouldn't be able to afford it as such. So I thought I could help them out. So that's why I decided to come to Bangalore. And so when you want to join law school in India, you have to write a competitive legal admission test. It's called CLAT. And they have a couple of centers around here that do a lot of teaching and like coaching classes for these entrance exams and such. So I was like, okay, let's just go to Bangalore and try my luck and see where I get from there. Yeah, I really wanted to go to NLS like every other law student or aspiring law student in Bangalore, but that didn't happen. But it's okay.
Was there a particular branch of like legal studies that you were interested in at that point of time? I mean, or did you figure it out as you went through university?
I did want to do criminal law because it's just very, very interesting, and it's honestly, it was so easy for me to grasp because I found it so interesting and I wanted to do that as like as a profession. But it's a very difficult profession. You're not only jeopardizing you yourself, like your family as such. There's just a lot of things at stake, and it didn't seem right at the moment. So I decided to put that aside. Yeah, and then I decided to become a corporate lawyer. Yeah, I love banking law, finance law, corporate commercial contract stuff like that. Just came easy to me. Even in college, I did my thesis on securities law and insider trading. So I figured this was my calling in the end. Yeah.
And you really have to read the fine print really well as a lawyer, right? In terms of
Yes, I feel like
make
that's what we actually get paid for, just to read the fine print because no one else wants to.
that's interesting. And this is I'm just curious, Carrie, were there any lawyers or some cases that at this point of time really inspired you or influenced your thinking as a lawyer?
In law school.
In law school or even before, but ideally in law school because I assume that's when you were really exposed to
Yeah,
this.
so in law school, I did get to learn. We had a couple of cool professors that came down. They were mostly guest lecturers, but they were different. We had different ones from criminal to research and corporate and stuff like that. So it was great exposure for us as law students because we were getting firsthand experience back from these lawyers, and it was actually pretty cool. So a lot of these professors that came, a lot of them influenced me. I think so. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
that's
Yeah,
basically yeah.
and were there any cases in particular that you were intrigued by, and or was there a lawyer like another like Indian lawyer or
There are
that?
many Indian lawyers that are actually very, very like successful and influential, and just I can't pick out anyone to be honest, and I can't pick out any case per se, but they're just all. I mean, when it comes to litigation, especially when you see people doing all these pro bono things, are just things that benefit the people per se, or like just even our country as a whole. When it comes to constitutional law and stuff, it's so interesting, and you can just I don't know, it was just really interesting to me at least. So I think that's what kept me driven in law school to
That's
keep doing law at least. Yeah.
that's really fascinating. Are there any causes that you feel you'd like to work on pro bono on the side? Because I know animal welfare is something you're very passionate about on the side, like apart from that, or even just tell us a little bit about why you have that passion for animal welfare.
Animal welfare, I just feel like, okay, so uh, I feel like, yeah, obviously humans think that they're more superior on the food chain, and we've just taken over the world, and we don't really care much about anyone else other than ourselves. And it's really unfortunate to see that these animals are right there and they live along us. I mean, this world is for them as well. It's not just us, right? So why can't we just try and make it a better place for them also?
Yeah,
And yeah, I want to start doing more when it comes to that. But I did a lot of work before for this foundation called Red Elephant Foundation when I was back in law school, and we help with a lot of women rights and basically doing like a lot of research projects and papers and stuff for pushing women's rights in India, especially. So that
nice.
was pretty cool. Sorry about that.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Um. So yeah, animal welfare. Actually, I feel like I should be doing a lot more than what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm not doing anything. But so I mean, when it comes to animal welfare and the environment as such, I do plan on doing maybe a master's in it because I feel like this is what I should be doing right now. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get into law school again.
That's really cool, Carrie. And I feel like it's really interesting to see how your thought process evolved as a student in terms of your passion for legal studies as well, right? Because
Yeah.
in school, I know you studied commerce because we were sort of in the same batch, but
Yeah.
then that evolved into a passion for social justice and trying to
Mhm.
understand how you can use the law to possibly, work towards causes that you felt were really important. And
Yeah.
eventually as a student it evolved into a particular area of focus, but I feel like, and that's what's really fascinating about uh, being a lawyer, right? It's such an important job in terms of doing the hard back work about
Yeah.
getting all the documents in place so that everyone else can do their work right. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that sort of perspective. But how did music happen? You're studying law, you're a full-time law student. Did you just randomly go to a bar one night or like a music venue and you're like, that musician there, I think I can do that really well too? So was that the story or was there another story there?
That's kind of a part of the story.
Okay.
But up until then, so what happened was when I came to college, I wasn't listening to as much mainstream music anymore. I was listening to a lot of underground stuff that a lot of my friends actually put me through, like showed me initially. And I thought it was fascinating because I was never exposed to these things before. So I was listening to a lot of different genres, like everything from progressive metal to chill hop. Like it's just extreme. Excuse me. And I was just listening to everything and anything. And suddenly I didn't know the mainstream artists and I knew all these underground artists. And I was like, okay, what is happening? Like, where is this going? And I remember back then, this is actually kind of funny because whenever we used to have parties, like within our friend circle as such, like birthday parties or like a farmhouse party or something or the other, I would always end up making playlists for the party because I just wanted to. Like, I wanted to be there curating the music, playing what's happening next. Like, I felt like I knew what the crowd needed or like what we needed to get like get hyped up in that party or such. So that's how it started out. And I remember my friends, like I would try to play mainstream songs or like try to be a little mainstream when it came to my music suggestions. And my friends were like, this is not you. This is not meant for you. You're meant to underground, like dig up and find new music and find like all these underground gems that you just come out from nowhere. And I was like, okay, I understand. Like, there's no point trying to be someone else, and this is who I am. So I'm just going to do this. And then I started making a lot of playlists for like different people, a lot of friends, just digging up a lot of music as such. And it was great. College was very like, um, yeah, exposed me to a lot of things in life. I feel at that point of time. But yeah, that's where I got my a lot of, a deeper understanding for music, especially then. Yeah.
That's really fascinating, Carrie. When I was also in Mumbai right after high school, and I got the
Yeah.
chance to visit or actually be at a couple of concerts. Like,
Hmm.
I went for the Swedish House Mafia concert when it happened,
Yeah.
and then there
Yeah.
was
So did
Martin
I.
Garrix. You were there in the Bangalore one, weren't you, Carrie?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I remember being in that sort of space, and I'm like, wow, the people on stage are almost like magicians, right? How can three people with a little device in front of them give such a large audience such an amazing experience? And I felt like for a couple of moments, I completely felt alive, right? And I feel like, and I, when I was in that concert, I felt like, why aren't there more um, Indian DJs doing this
Mhm.
for, and actually known in, the world circuit in terms,
Yeah.
and that's something I'm curious about in terms of your understanding of the Indian music scene. You have a
Mhm.
lot of indie artists that have come up recently, and
Yes.
I know Spotify and Savan, they're trying their best to get this music out, but
Mhm.
it's often the most popular indie artists like Pratik Kuhad
Yeah.
or when Chai Met Toast that really
Yeah.
get their music out. But as a musician that's up and coming, what are your thoughts on the Indian music scene at this point of time?
I feel like we're still starting out, even though it's been like a couple of years now. I remember when I first came to Bangalore, also I started going to music festivals. It's been about 10 years, and I can see the drastic shift, like from the way it's being organized to the way it's being scheduled, the artists that they're managing to get even now. It's getting bigger, it's getting more exposed, it's getting out there, but it's going to take a little bit of time, I feel.
Mm,
Because even when it comes to India itself, like there's not that many people doing a lot of music because you can't. I mean, it's discouraged. I feel as a profession itself, they're just like you can't just sit there play music and make money. That's not how it's gonna work here.
yeah.
And a lot of like I can testify to that because a lot of musicians that I do know, a lot of DJs that I do know, do have like side gigs as well.
Mm,
And I feel like if we do encourage music as a profession as such, or like from a very young age, if people can see it as a viable profession, why can't we just do it? Like, I feel like we should encourage it a little bit more.
mm,
And because we don't have that many people doing it in India per se, we haven't had that kind of representation on an international basis as well when it comes to like different parts of the world because we're still starting out. We're still trying to find our space within our own country when it comes to music. And so I think, yeah, that's one of the main reasons why we haven't been able to get out there as a
interesting.
country when it comes to music. So it's just going to take some time. I feel we're on our way there. I
Yeah.
can see it growing bigger and better every year. So we're definitely going to get there soon. Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, like when I was listening to Care Package, Carrie, and I was listening
Mhm.
to a couple of episodes, and I realized that the music you were playing there had influences from so many different cultures, right? I,
Yeah.
I noticed a little bit of calypso,
Yeah.
but then I'm also thinking about your roots as an Indian, right? So I'm curious how I mean, how did being a third culture kid influence your ability to play music? Because I know you visited, I mean, your family stays in the UK, but you grew up in Bahrain and now you're in India and you're also, I think the hard part about being, like for me personally, I am from Karnataka, but I
Hmm.
don't speak Kannada. I speak Tulu, which is like another language of Karnataka.
Yeah.
So every state has its own language, right? So you're
Mhm.
constantly grappling with your identity of being
Yeah.
Indian. So, I mean, when you make your music, do you feel your third culture background influences that in any particular way?
I feel like yes, yes, it does very
Okay.
much. I feel like because I'm a third culture kid, because we grew up in Bahrain and I have those kind of influence coming on me. I have a lot of different things that bring nostalgia out of me. Like we don't really necessarily have to have the same two things that would interest us, right? Someone growing up who grew up in Bangalore and someone that grew up outside Bangalore. So when it came to music here, especially, it was a little difficult at first because I felt like everyone had, not everyone per se, but a majority of them had a certain wavelength about how music should go and how music should be and such. And it was a little difficult breaking that kind of stereotype in the beginning because I'm like I majorly play disco at clubs around here, and disco isn't as big of a force as it is in London per se. Like if you want to compare, and we're still trying to find a little group, like we're still trying to find our own community within this big community that actually do like that actually does like disco and enjoys it and such. So we're doing that now, and I feel like growing up in Bahrain, because we had a lot of other influences when it comes to my sets here, especially when it comes to framing them, I feel like some of those influences do matter and affect my sets when I do make them now as well. I feel like that's one of the main reasons why there's a stark difference between me and another probably DJ here, because
Mm.
like, I can bring something else to the table itself. Yeah.
And I feel like eventually you have to sort of develop your own voice, right, Carrie? And
Yeah, you do have to. So we call it a sound here, and like you do end up developing your own sound. You find different genres that are to your liking, that you vibe better with, or that you just have better knowledge of, and you can bring uh, better songs and better vibes to the party and make it better as such. Yeah. So
that's fascinating. So,
everything.
would it be fair to say that all these years of listening to music, was
Mm-hmm.
sort of your training ground in understanding and developing
Was
your own sound, right?
yes, it definitely has. Yeah. I mean, even now when I listen to songs, I can analyze them and I can understand different elements that get like that are put into a song, that a producer puts into a song. And it's weird for me because when it comes to DJing, I can find these different elements in different songs and connect them, which makes my sets better when it comes to mixing. So yeah, it was a whole deep dive that I unknowingly even did, I think, while growing up, that
That's,
led to this whole moment now. Yeah, it
well,
was
that's
pretty
right.
cool actually.
It is, yeah, because sometimes we think about musicians or a disc jockey as a producer, but I think
Mhm.
one of the skills of someone that does this professionally is that they also have to be good listeners, right? And
Yeah.
you need to be, so when you listen to another DJ, I think what are two or three things you try and observe? And this is just for somebody like me that, I mean, I want to be a better listener myself. So when I listen to another DJ playing their set, what are two
Hmm.
or three things I can focus on to maybe enhance my experience of listening to that song if I
Okay,
have
so
no clue about music, coming into it?
so when you listen to a disc jockey at first, obviously the choice of songs matter,
Mm,
like what kind of vibe they're trying to bring in. So a lot of people don't know this, but when it comes to a party, you normally have about 2 to 3 DJs that play at a party. You have an opening DJ, then you have the second DJ, and then you have a closing set by who's basically the main artist that you've come for.
mm,
So an opening DJ's main act would be not to get people hyped up, not to get people like dancing out and about. Like you can't play Michael Jackson in the beginning of a party and just wear them all off. You
mm,
understand what I'm saying? So you have to get the groove going. You have to get the vibe right. You have to have people come in and be like, okay, this music sounds nice. This music sounds like more to my taste. I'll probably grab a drink, probably get a seat. Let's see what's gonna happen. That's what an opening DJ does. And so obviously music song selection is a must.
mm.
Even when it comes to like the second DJ or the main act, I mean, like, it's a little easier, it's a little difficult as well because you get to play a lot of bangers, but if you don't play the right bangers, then people might lose interest, people might want to walk off. So song selection is a must. Something that I don't know, always gets you grooving. I feel like keeps the vibe going. Um, so yeah, finding songs like that does take a while, and I think that's one of the main things to look for when you're becoming a DJ. Then second and most importantly, I feel, is mixing. So the main act of DJing, the main premise or whatever, is how the DJ mixes for the first song into the second song. So
Mm.
it's like one long song. You don't realize that it's actually two songs. So it's mainly done because you want to keep the flow going of the party. You can't just pause in between and then start another song. That's not how it works. Yeah. So you have to mix one song into the other,
Mm.
and that's the whole main art. And it takes some time, it takes some practice, it takes a lot of messing around, a lot of just pushing different buttons on there, honestly, just trying to figure it out. But yeah, you can like learn a lot actually when you just listen to someone mix a song
Mm.
from one into another. I mean, I pick up a lot of tips honestly when I just hear other DJs playing and mixing songs. And then third, I feel like stage presence
Mm.
is matters a lot, and not a lot of DJs understand that, because I realized this when I was much younger, when I was dancing actually for these competitions and such. My teacher kept telling me that whenever you go out there for a competition, whenever you're on stage, don't forget to enjoy it yourself, because if you're not enjoying it, then the crowd is not going to enjoy it.
That's
And
true.
I apply that same principle to my sets even now. Like if I'm enjoying it, if people see me vibing, they'll be like, okay, maybe she's not so bad. Maybe she's actually nice. Maybe the song is nice and they start vibing. I think it's a little bit psychological, obviously,
Yeah,
but it works. So I think, yeah, if people see you having fun, then maybe they want to have fun too. So I think
that's
these are
really
the three main
interesting.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like when I go to another concert, or I'm listening to
Mhm.
someone at a venue, I think I'll give a lot more attention to song choice,
Yeah.
how they mix it, and then maybe their stage presence, and I feel like I unconsciously enjoy some of these things, but to
Mhm.
consciously focus on them may help me
Yeah,
enjoy that experience a little more, right?
for
This is
sure. Yeah.
a good segue, Carrie, into the Dynamite Disco Club and the role of that organization in your
Yeah.
growth as a disc jockey, right? So when did you first get introduced to the team at that space? I mean, what is the Dynamite Disco Club, just to
Okay,
start
so
off, and how
I'll
did that
explain.
get going?
Dynamite Disco Club is basically a small group of us here in Bangalore. It's basically started by my mentor. His name is Salva John. He's one of the most prominent disco DJs and producers in India at the moment. He started this little group because he wanted to push the whole disco movement in India because we don't really see a lot of disco parties happening here, a lot of disco DJs around as well. And I feel like it's a very underrated genre. Like it has so much to give, and it's all about love. It's all about good vibes. It's all
Mhm.
about being true to yourself, being who you are, and not worrying about anything else in the world. Because as long as you have you, then we have you, and it's all good. That's how it goes. So I basically got exposed to Dynamite Disco Club back in November 2018.
Mhm.
So what happened was, it was I think about the same year in July is when I decided that I wanted to become a DJ. And I was trying to figure out how to become a DJ now because I knew I wanted to be there doing this. I wanted to be playing music for people. So I started going to a lot of local gigs. I started like talking to a lot of local artists, a lot of local DJs performing here, and I managed to. I approached one,
Mhm.
even though I'm still shy and a little bit awkward and reserved. I approached one, and so he told me that I asked him if he would teach me, if he would tutor me or mentor me. And unfortunately, at the time, he wasn't taking classes, but he said that he had a friend who wanted to start teaching, and his friend was Talbot John.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, cool. So, and he's like, okay, why don't you come for Dynamite Disco Club this weekend? It was happening that weekend, luckily. And see how you like the party, see how you like his vibe. If you like the music he plays and stuff, then it's great. Then you can talk to him and learn from him. And I was like, okay, cool. So me and a couple of girlfriends, we went for Dynamite Disco Club that year, that month. And I remember it was from 9 to 1, and it was just 4 hours. And we didn't stop dancing those 4 hours. We were just dancing the entire night. And even after it got over, I was so flustered. I was red like a cherry. Like it was just I was dancing my heart out, and I realized I loved it so much. And I just wanted to do the same thing. So then I approached Albert after the party got over, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous because I wanted to be a DJ so bad at the time. And there were so many things that I tried doing, but nothing worked out. And I was like, shit, if this doesn't work out, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I really have to make a good influencer. Like I have to put up a good face. I can't seem nervous and scared and whatnot. But I was so nervous
I can
when I
imagine.
first spoke to him. And I was like, hi, my name is Carissa. This guy referred me to you. He said that I could talk to you about learning how to DJ and stuff. And he didn't look at me twice. He just looked at me and he was like, yeah, okay, don't worry. Just take my number and we'll text and we'll figure it out. So I was like, okay, cool. And I remember on my way back home, we were in the cab and I had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, okay, one step closer to becoming a DJ. Yes, okay,
Um,
hopefully this is gonna work out. Hopefully he's gonna like me. And we texted for a bit, Stal and I, and we vibed. We completely vibed. So it was a good thing for me. And I ended up becoming his first student.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
And
So
was
pretty
it
cool.
in a very formal setting, or would he just tell you to come and observe, and you'd learn about how he did it in his gigs? So
No, it was like it was basically supposed to be a whole course, like a
okay,
2.5 month, 3 months course. And I would go to his house because he had a whole setup there.
got it,
And we would do classes, like he would teach me these things, like basics and theory a little bit. And like it was a whole 3 month course back there.
got it.
But it was pretty cool because I went in the beginning and I was so awkward and I was so shy and I didn't know how to go about it. I was his first student, so he didn't know how to go about it either. So it was really cool because both of us were like trying to see where we could go with this whole teacher student thing. Like, I really wanted a mentor from the beginning itself. So the fact that I found him itself, I was extremely like ecstatic about it. And after I found him, and then I started doing more research on him, and then I found out what a big deal he was. And I was like, okay, got to nail this. Like, if I'm doing this, I better do this right, and there's no point at all. And there was something in the beginning of the course itself, like when we first started learn, like when I first started going to him to learn, he was like, yeah, if you're going to be a bad DJ, I'm not going to tell him that you're my student also. Like, I'm not going to let you play gigs until I think you're good enough.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, cool. So that's how I got into Dynamite Disco Club. And yeah, I mean, I went to every party ever since November 28. I've been to every Dynamite Disco Club. And it's great because so Stalwart, my mentor who actually hosts the party, he closes it on most occasions at least. He closes the party. And it's fun to see him play because I don't know, he has a different kind of energy. He just has a different kind of vibe that he brings to sets. And everyone loves it. He just manages to pull in a crowd.
Mm.
But before him, he always gets different opening and like second artists, whoever was going before him. So I got to like meet a lot of other musicians. I got to meet a lot of other artists. I got to meet a lot of DJs, and I was listening to them and their style. So I got exposed to that.
Mm.
I would see how they would mix. I would see what songs they would pick for their sets, and so I learned a lot from like just
Being there.
observing them. Yeah,
Mm.
just being there and observing them and seeing how the crowd reacts to different kinds of songs. So I was like, okay, this is quite a learning curve. Yeah.
I mean
So
that's I really like, what how you went about doing this, Carrie, because it's something that, I mean, you actually reached out to someone whose music you thought was really good, and you asked
mhm,
them if they could be, their student, and then you created an environment where you could learn with them, where you are also giving the person something because they realize that they can also be a teacher in that sort of setting. and
yeah,
and in that sense, I think it also helps improve Stalwart John's practice as an artist as well, right? Because
yeah,
he
for sure.
understands what elements of it he needs to. But I feel like this is something that can be replicated across professions as well, right? So if there is
Yeah.
someone, if you want to be a writer, for instance, is there a writer whose work you really like? Can you reach out to this writer and maybe say, is there some way I can learn from you, work free for you?
Yeah.
And
Or send them a couple of samples, get their view on it. You never know where it'll take you, honestly.
that's yeah, and I feel like that is something the internet also allows us to do a lot more,
Yes.
right, Carrie?
Yeah.
And do you feel
So
like,
much like
yeah, I'm like,
please continue.
no, no, go ahead. I'm just trying to like think out loud here, Carrie, based on what you said. Like, how do you think technology has changed your ability to access and reach out to other musicians and listen to better music? Because
Oh,
if there was somebody in your position maybe 20 years ago and they wanted to be a DJ and
yeah,
do the same things, do you think it would be harder for them? Or
for sure. I think it would have been a lot more harder for them. I mean, internet has made everyone's day-to-day life so easy, just from basic necessities that you need to just, if you don't know anything, like we've lost the use of encyclopedias. We should just keep books of encyclopedias. I can remember while growing up, and
yeah.
if you didn't know anything, you had to go and look at an encyclopedia. But now it's like, okay, 1 second, I'll just Google it, and in like 5 seconds, I already know all about it, right? So like internet, it is vast and amazing, and just so much more happening there. But just when it comes to music, especially, yeah, it's so much more easier for me to buy music online. It's so I remove the whole copyright aspect of it. It's so much more easier for me to find artists online, and especially because of social media. When it comes to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you come across similar like I'm still a newbie DJ. I've just been doing this for 2 years now, but I can find another newbie DJ probably in Mexico who plays disco, and I can listen to their sets that they're playing there live in their parties, and it's so interesting to see what their vibe is, what their sets are like, what kind of song selections they have, what kind of influences they have. I feel like all of this obviously wouldn't be so like you wouldn't get access to all of this 20 years ago, right?
Mm.
So when it comes to yeah, especially when it comes to social media, even now like I have different I have different artist friends all over the world now because I managed to like I've opened for a couple of international artists here in Bangalore, and just over social media I've connected with a bunch of people that I've never met. But
Mm.
we like I know you play disco, I play disco. Okay, let's see what what we play like. I mean, what's your playlist like? What's my playlist like? That's how you find new music. And I feel like people who show you new music are just always important people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so great. Yeah.
like what are two or three things? I mean, like again, like if I'm a musician, should I just
Mhm.
try and review playlists on streaming platforms? Should I find every other musician on like a social media platform? I mean, these are some things you can possibly start off doing in terms of
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
access to
No,
other work.
you can start curating your own playlist. I feel like that would give other people an idea of what kind of music you like and what kind of genres you're into as a musician. And that mainly, I mean, what kind of music you would play would stem from the stuff that you're interested in, obviously, right?
Sure.
So they'll understand what kind of leanings, I mean, you have like the different genres. And yeah, I mean, social media has gives a lot of exposure to artists nowadays. Like you have to be on there, you have to have like a great social media profile, you have to
Yeah.
have a great social media game, an insta game, as they say. It's great, yeah, because you get a lot of exposure, you get to meet a lot of other artists, and so yeah, it's pretty cool that way.
And I think your social media game is A1, Carrie. I mean, I've
No,
seen all the,
it's
but I've seen all
it's
the
cool.
photos and everything you
You know,
put out.
Shaggy, can I tell you something funny? Um, so when I started DJing, everyone was like, "Oh, you know, you're really different from the usual DJs that you see around town." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "You normally see fat, chubby guys playing music behind a console." And I was like, "Yeah, you know, these fat, chubby guys are really funny, actually. Like these, I'm telling you, some DJs on social media have such great game. Like it's just memes. I feel like they don't even have any music on there. It's just memes right now. And especially in the midst of Corona when everything else is falling apart, you look at these memes and you laugh for a little bit. They're just like, this is all we want to do right now. We just want to spread a little bit of happiness. And it's very sweet. Like it's really nice. You get a little bit of what that person is like, obviously, also. Yeah.
I mean, it's also part of your stage presence, right? Carry the
Yeah.
the image of who you are before you
Yeah.
actually start playing, right? Because I
Yeah.
know, I mean, the aura around some of the best DJs in the world, like, I mean, I know there are genres in every musician, so I don't know who the best disco DJ in the world is. I mean, you could probably let me know in a later part of this show, but I feel like you actually get an idea of who the person is, and it's also about creating a sense of a lifestyle around the individual that
Yeah.
that's part of their music too, right?
Yeah.
So but Carrie, when did the first live gig happen? Like, I know you went through
Oh,
this whole
God.
training period with
Yeah.
Stalwart
So this
John and
training period, can I just say this training period is very, very intense. So basically it was 5 days a week, 2 hours every day.
okay.
And Styles House is at the other end of the city. So
Oh,
I would have to travel to the closest metro station, catch a metro, from there, go to the closest metro station to his house, then catch
wow.
an auto from the metro station to his house. So it was a whole 4.5 hour long thing. Like I
And
would just keep to myself in the evening. So I finished
but
work.
was this after like a whole day of work,
Yeah,
technically? Wow.
yeah. So I finished work by 5-ish, and I
Okay.
would just run out the door. Like I would run home. I mean, I would run home, get my stuff. I had another change of bags, my laptop and thing, and I would just get back on my scooter and go to the closest metro station. It took me about an hour to get to his house, and once I get there, it was basically 2 hours of class or practice or whatever. And I would always end up staying longer than 2 hours because I just didn't want to leave. I just wanted to stay there and keep playing music and get this right. Like I wanted to do it so bad. And at times, Tal would just be like, please, can you leave? Like, I need to have dinner. I need to go to sleep. Other things to do. And he would have to drive me out of his house. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going, I'm leaving. So it was 3 months of that. And I finally had my first gig in March 2019, and it was Dynamite Disco Club itself. I was opening. I had a half an hour set. No
Mhm.
one knew about it except for my friends and my mom and dad. And I wasn't on the poster. I wasn't anywhere. It was just, hey, you want to play? Okay, you get these 5 minutes. Let's see what you can do. It was like that. And I knew I had to nail it because if I didn't, it was just not going to work. Like I had to nail it. There was no other choice. So I went there and I told all my friends about it. My friends here in Bangalore have been really, really supportive,
Yeah.
especially come for a lot of my gigs, all of them. And so yeah, there were a lot of people turned up. and it was great. I played for 30 minutes. It was just like four songs, honestly.
Really.
But it was great.
And was that music you made yourself, Carrie?
No, no, no. It was
You.
different. It was music from like other people, like other musicians' work. But I just, yeah, I was there mixing it all in. And yeah, I started the party going. I mean, I started the party. I was so nervous, Shetty. I was so nervous. I remember there was another DJ at the time that was playing at the party as well. His name is Shantanu.
Yeah.
And I was telling him about how nervous I was because it was my first gig ever. Like,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Don't worry. At least like you have like people like your friends are here. We're here. We're here to support you. Don't worry." My big break, my first gig was a bar in Kolkata, and there were four drunk guys, and I was playing to them. It was just that, and I was like, okay, cool. I feel like I've been very fortunate when it comes to Style and Dynamite Disco Club, especially because I've got such a big platform to play on, and yeah, it's been
but
great.
but somewhere in that performance, Carrie, do you feel like there was a moment where you moved from being nervous to just having a connection with the audience? And
Yeah, for sure. Like I was just enjoying it. I played the first song, and I saw my friends
dancing.
dancing or just bopping around, and I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what it's meant to be. I just felt so right. Like
Wow,
nothing else could matter at at the time. Honestly, it was just like I have to do this. Like
that's
I want to
amazing.
do this. I want to do more and more of this. It was like that.
That's so
Yeah.
amazing. It's so hard for someone to find that sort of alignment in their life, where you feel like your skills and knowledge and your
Hmm.
ability to add value to someone's life completely aligns in a moment, right? I feel like the first time you played that gig and you found that sort of zone, I feel like there was a complete alignment of who you were as growing up, with music and dance, and your ability
Yeah.
to do that in a way that gave someone else happiness, right? And I think that's such a beautiful
Yeah.
moment for any individual. But
It
since then,
really
Carrie,
is.
yeah, and since then, Carrie, how many gigs have you played since that? I mean, that was 2019, so I guess that's 2 years. So how many
Yeah, it's
gigs?
been about 2 years. I've played maybe about 20, 25 gigs since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was there like, do you have any like stories from these gigs? Like, was there one venue you felt that was completely different, or any fun like DJ stories? I mean, you don't have to share it again, but I'm just curious. Like, do you feel like you've gotten better over time, and what were some things you felt you need to work on in terms of your stage presence, especially
Yeah.
when you're working with smaller and larger audiences? How does that change?
Yeah. It's been a while, right?
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I've gotten better over time because I'm telling you honestly, when I started, I was pretty shit. Now I think I'm a little bit better, and it's pretty cool because I've gotten a chance to play at different clubs around India, different festivals around India, and you get to meet a lot of different people and stuff. So it was pretty cool. So one of my most memorable gigs was when I got to play for this a British duo called Marabou State. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're really
Mhm.
cool, actually. So they were coming to India for Magnetic Fields Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals that we have in Rajasthan.
Mhm.
And they were doing a little bit of an India tour after, going to Bangalore, Bombay, Pune, like the prominent cities around the country. And I got to open for them at one of the socials in Bangalore, and it was pretty cool because Marabou State has been like a big influence in my life for a while. And when I told my friends also, everyone was just like holding the table. They were like, "Are you okay? Do you think you can do this?" Because I was so excited, but I was shitting bricks at the same time because I was so nervous as well. Like I idolized these two for like a while in my life. So it's pretty cool because I got to open for them. And luckily that night, because there are a lot of restrictions in Bangalore when it comes to late night partying, and you can't have your clubs open like past 1 and stuff like that. So they pulled the party a little earlier, I think. So I started earlier. The Marabou State also ended up playing a lot more earlier than what they normally would. So at the end of the party, we had, I think they finished their set by 11, and we still had 2 hours left for the club to close. So we need to figure out what to do because we couldn't ask them to play for any longer. But we needed the crowd was going, the crowd was really pumped, and we had to do something. So the manager was like, "Hey, do you want to close after Marabou State?"
Wow.
And mind you, by then I had done maybe like 10, 12.
Okay.
10 gigs at max.
Okay.
And I never closed a party in my life. Like I had
Mm.
only done opening sets. I never played to a full crowd on the dance floor as well. So it was just, I was like, what are you saying?
That's a lot of pressure, right? Because you have to
it
follow up the
was,
person you listen to growing. I mean,
yeah,
like,
I had to follow up. I had to make a good impression on them and I had to keep the crowd going. And I mean, if I couldn't pull it off, then I would just, I mean, I know I would never forgive myself because it would just like eat me on the inside.
yeah.
But I don't know, I had to do it. There was nothing else that we could do at the time, and they were like, just go up there. And I had a couple of songs that I did want to play, and they were like, just go up there, play for like half an hour, see how it goes. If it doesn't work, there were other DJs. They were like, we'll take over. Don't worry
Mm.
about it. But just go try it out because I mean, you're new on the scene and you don't know what's gonna be like. So I was like, okay. And I went there and I followed. I had a groupie was standing right next to me, Shati. Like I'm still such a big fan. I'm still fangirling. They were standing right next to me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play this song. I
Oh,
hope
shit.
this works. And my favorite one came and gave me a hug and everything, and I was
Oh my God.
like,
How,
but
how
yeah,
did that go eventually? Did that?
I actually managed to nail it. They were quite impressed because they were
Nice.
standing at the back and they were clapping for me, and they were like, oh, good song selection. And I was standing in the front crying, going, yeah, I was so
That's
happy.
that's amazing. And
I
I
managed to do it. Yeah.
that's insane because it's so fascinating to see how you decided to learn something. You said you wanted to do it in like 2018, and then 2019 or so you took up this course, and then you started playing gigs. And now in about 3 to 4 years time, you actually transformed from wanting to do it to actually playing with someone that is very
Yeah.
proficient in it, right? So it's amazing to see that journey. And that's the thing, that we're also trying to get out, is that the way you went about doing all of this, Carrie, I feel like it's an interesting model for any
Mm-hmm.
young person. That, we often feel that even if we dedicate ourselves to a profession, we can't do something on the side. But I feel like your story and your journey shows us that you can do these things. And, eventually you never know, you may choose one or the other. But even if you do both of them parallelly, you can still do
Mm-hmm.
both of them really well,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that I feel is really really nice. I mean, Carrie, we've gone through. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to ask you. So yeah, I think we got like a larger overview of your journey as a musician. I think I'm very excited about everything you're going to be doing. I will be including all of Carissa's links to 3 episodes of the Care Package and every other
Okay.
show that she's done in the show notes. Um, just to end off the show, Carrie, what I wanted to ask you is, like,
Mm-hmm.
as I was listening to you, I realized that even when you were in those classes with Stalwart John, that apart from the tools and techniques, right, there's this thing called a vibe, right? Like every
Yeah.
DJ has their vibe. So
Yeah.
what do you think the vibe is? Is it like an emotion? Is it like, if you had to I mean, it's hard to define the vibe, right? But
Yeah.
at some point of time as a DJ, you have to understand your own vibe. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the vibe, can you recommend um, like 2 or 3 musicians you think aspiring DJs should listen to from the disco genre or any other genre? And how would you sort of explain their vibe? Like, is there an emotion that is associated with that musician? So,
Okay, so firstly, I think vibe can be loosely translated to the energy, like
okay.
what DJ like or like a person brings an energy to a party. Like if someone's sad and they come to a party and the whole mood goes down, you understand that their vibe is just sad at that point in time. So yeah, when it comes to DJing, your vibe is really important because I mean, if I have this whole peppy, happy thing that keeps going. I try to bring that out when it comes to gigs and when it comes to meeting people and just bringing it out from the audience itself. Okay, I want you to be happy, dude. Like this is what I want you to be here for. And yeah, so I think that's mainly what I feel vibe is. It brings out different emotions. Obviously, I feel like disco itself, like as a whole, honestly, is a very nostalgic genre,
Mhm.
and it brings out these happy memories. Like I remember once, can I just tell you this one story before I
Yeah,
go on to the next one?
go ahead.
I was playing at a gig a couple of months ago, actually, not too long ago, and I ended up playing an ABBA song.
Mm.
It was "Gimme Gimme." I don't know if you've heard of it. So
Yep.
it was it's a really old song, yeah. But I ended up playing it when I was closing one of my parties, and I feel like 5 or 6 old people that were there at the party. They came up to me and they were like, "Thank you so much for playing that song. You have no idea." It was like a little trip down memory lane for them because they were like, so many good memories came back. So if I felt like I was young again and I was dancing to this song and I was in my youth, I was like a teenager all over again. And I want to bring these emotions and I want to evoke these experiences that are out of people, that's the main reason why we're doing all of this. And so yeah, when it comes to DJing, when it comes to disco, um, I feel like so I've been really fortunate. I feel like when I went so back in 2019, I had the opportunity to go on one of a really cool music festival in London. It was
Mhm.
called Defected Festival, and Defected is a major label when it comes to producing house and house, deep house, and I think disco as well. It's a
Okay.
big label for producers. So it was really cool because I got to see a lot of my idols playing there right in front of me. And I got to take a lot of tips from how they like mix their songs and their song selections and just the stage presence and everything together. So based on that, if you want to find new DJs, aspiring DJs, especially even other people, just generally, if you want to find new artists, I think you should listen to this guy called Follow. He's from France. He's an up and coming disco house DJ, and he has a lot to give to it. He's still starting out. I feel like it's been 5 years that he's been on the scene,
Sure.
and he's doing a fantastic job. Like he's amazing when it comes to his songs, the way he produces, the way he um plays his sets, the energies, the vibe he brings to his sets there as well. He was great. He was amazing. Apart from Folomom, we have these old school DJs like Louis Vega, who is
Mhm.
amazing. He's like a proponent, like he's like one of the major figures in house music and disco. He's amazing,
Got it.
just amazing. And he's such a cute guy. He's like this tiny and he wears like a top hat. It's really cute. He's like known for it. So yeah, he's an amazing artist that you do have to check out. Recently, I discovered this artist called Aeroplane.
Mhm.
So he's been on the scene for a very, very long time as well. I think about 10, 12 years. He does a lot of remixes and just a lot of he just produces a lot of tracks also, and they're like famous tracks that you wouldn't even realize that someone did, because I mean I've been doing disco and house for a while now, and I found him recently, so I was quite surprised by him. He has a lot of fun songs. Yeah, you can find him on Instagram also. His name is Vito Aeroplane. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I will
but
do, Carrie, is I'll probably ask you for links of these three musicians in terms of like a playlist that we can,
mhm,
start off with. But
for
thanks
sure,
for that. I mean, that
no
that is
problem.
actually like a good start in terms of.
We'll keep going on, but I have only time for three.
I mean, what I will do is I will link them to your podcast and
Right?
your Instagram handle. So
Yeah. Or I can make a playlist also. I don't mind. I love making playlists. I can make a playlist for you guys with like
sure, I
new
could actually just
instructions,
link.
disco
I
house
don't.
DJ,
Sorry,
and
go
you
ahead.
can I can just make a playlist of new and upcoming disco and house DJs all over the world. And you can just put it on the link to it.
That would be amazing. I don't want to give you any more
Oh,
work, Carrie. I know you're really busy, but
no, I love doing this. I really do.
awesome. So then I will link all the show notes and links to all your shows. And one of the things I would like to end the show with in terms of just putting out a message there, I feel like it's really important for listeners and people that are passionate about music to go out and support independent musicians. So
Yes.
really, I know we can't do this now, but if you have a chance, go to their live performances, buy their music, because they spend a lot of time doing
Yes.
this.
Yes.
I know it's easy to listen to it on, but support them in any way you
Please
can
do. Yeah, they put a
financially.
lot of work and heart into it, and they give them. I mean, they give EPs and music their all, and it doesn't always give back. It doesn't always work out for them, but you can definitely help. So yeah, please
I
do
mean,
reach out to your local musicians and please help them out in any way you can.
yeah, and that's something that thanks for helping us understand that, Carrie. We will hopefully be better listeners after this show. But thank you so much for your time, Carrie.
Thank you so
Um,
much for having me
this was
again.
amazing. I think maybe in a couple of years when you are playing at like one of the big world festivals, hopefully we'll be able to schedule another time with you and maybe
Yeah.
see like a part two of Carissa as the next big DJ in the world. But thank you, Carrie, and
Thank
um,
you.
thanks to
This was so
everyone. I
much fun.
mean, sorry, go ahead, Carrie. Anything else you want to
So
say?
this was so much fun. Don't know what I was nervous about.
It was, yeah, and I think I learned a lot. I mean, I didn't. I think we stopped chatting. We did meet once or twice, but
Yeah.
as a friend, I think I'm super inspired by your drive and passion for music, Carrie, and I think I
Thank
learned
you.
a lot personally. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we're gonna end this episode of Learning Stories with this sort of positive note, and stay tuned for more episodes. Until then, keep learning. Thank you.